See Dwarka for the modern city. Not to be confused with the historical Dvaravati kingdom of Thailand. Dvārakā, also known as Dvaravati, is a sacred city in Hinduism, Jainism and Buddhism. The name Dvāraka is said to have been given to the place by the Hindu god Krishna. Dvaraka is one of the Saptapuri of Hinduism. In the Mahabharata, it was a city located in what is now Dwarka, formerly called Kushasthali, the fort of which had to be repaired by the Yadavis. In this epic, the city is described as a capital of the Ananta kingdom. According to the Haravamsa, the city was located in the region of the Sindhu kingdom. In the Hindu epics and the Vishnava Puranas, Dvaraka is called Dvaravati and is one of 7 sites for spiritual liberation. The other 6 Mathura, Ayodhya, Kashi, Kanchipuram, Avantika and Puri. Description in the Haravamsa. In Haravamsa, Dvaraka is described as largely built on submerged land released by the ocean. The city was the former sporting ground of the king Rivataka, called Dvaravati, which was squared like a chessboard. Nearby was the mountain range Rivataka, the living place of the gods. The city was measured by Brahmins. The foundations of the houses were laid and at least some of the houses were built by the Yadavis. It was built by Vishvakarman in one day, mentally. It had surrounding walls with 4 main gates. Its houses were arranged in lines and the city had high buildings made in gold, which almost touched the sky, and could be seen everywhere like clouds. It had a temple area with a palace for Krishna himself which had a separate bathroom. It was a very rich city and the only city on earth which was studded with gems. Dvaraka in the Mahabharata. Description. The following description of Dvaraka during Krishna's presence there appears in the Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with the sage Narada's visit. The city was filled with the sounds of birds and bees flying about the parks and pleasure gardens, while its lakes, crowded with blooming Indivara, Ampolya, Kalara, Kumuda, and Utpala lotuses, resounded with the calls of swans and cranes. Dvaraka boasted 900,000 royal palaces, all constructed with crystal and silver and splendorously decorated with huge emeralds. Inside these palaces, the furnishings were bedecked with gold and jewels. Traffic moved along a well-laid-out system of boulevards, roads, intersections, and marketplaces. Many assembly houses and temples of demigods graced the charming city. The roads, courtyards, commercial streets, and residential patios were all sprinkled with water and shaded from the sun's heat by banners waving from flag poles. In the city of Dvaraka was a beautiful private court worshipped by the planetary rulers. This district, where the demigod Vishvakarma had shown all his divine skill, was the residential area of Lord Hari, and thus it was gorgeously decorated by the 16,000 palaces of Lord Krishna's queens. Narada Muni entered one of these immense palaces. Supporting the palace were coral pillars decoratively inlaid with Vijayuru gems. Sapphires bedecked the walls, and the floors glowed with perpetual brilliance. In the palace Devashta had arranged canopies with hanging strands of pearls. There were also seats and beds fashioned of ivory and precious jewels. In attendance were many well-dressed maidservants bearing lockets on the necks, and also armor-clad guards with turbans, fine uniforms, and jeweled earrings. The glow of numerous jewel-studded lamps dispelled all darkness in the palace. My dear king, on the ornate ridges of the roof danced loudly crying peacocks, who saw the fragrant aguru incense escaping through the holes of the latticed windows and mistook it for a cloud. Events Pandu's sons lived in Dwarka during their exile to woods. The servants headed by Indrasena lived there for 1 year. Balarama mentioned a bout of sacrificial fire of Dwaraka before he set for his pilgrimage over Sarasvati river. One should proceed with subdued senses and regulated diet to Dvaravati, whereby bathing in the holy place called Pindaraka. one obtaineth the fruit of the gift of gold in abundance. King Enriga, in consequence of a single fault of his, had to dwell for a long time at Dvaravati, and Krishna became the cause of his rescue from that miserable plight. Sage Durvasa resided at Dvaravati for a long time. Arjuna visited Dvaravati during his military campaign after the Kurukshetra war. When the Pandavas retire from the world, they visit the place where Dvaraka once used to be and see the city submerged under water. Archaeological findings. On May 19, 2001, India's Science and Technology Minister Murli Manohar Joshi announced the finding of ruins in the Gulf of Kampat. The ruins, known as the Gulf of Kampat Cultural Complex, are located on the seabed of a 9-kilometer stretch off the coast of Gujarat at a depth of about 40 meters. The site was discovered by a team from the National Institute of Ocean Technology in December 2000 and investigated for 6 months with acoustic techniques. A follow-up investigation was conducted by the same institute in November 2001, which included dredging to recover artifacts. Further underwater explorations was made in the Gulf of Kampat site by the NIOT team from 2003 to 2004, and the samples, consisting of what was presumed to be pottery, were sent to laboratories in Oxford, UK and Hanover, Germany, as well as several institutions within India, to be dated. In a 2003 paper, A.S. Gower and Sundaresh of National Institute of Oceanography concluded, the present excavation has thrown a light on the cultural sequence of Dwarka Island. Around the 17th century B.C., later Harappan people had established the settlement, and they perhaps migrated from Nageshwar, which is close by. They have exploited marine resources such as fish and conch shells. It appears that late Harappans of Dwarka Island had interaction with the Saurashtra Harappans, and they might be visiting ports on the coast of the northern Saurashtra region. The scanty habitational deposit suggests that the site was abandoned after a couple of centuries. The island was again inhabited during the 8th century BC on the southeastern coast of the island. However, inconclusive findings raised the possibility that the extremely old samples, as argued for many other artifacts recovered from the Gulf of Kampat, are not man-made artifacts or potsherds, but rather geofacts and related objects of natural origin. Michael Witzel argues that the ruins are either natural rock formations as the result of faulty remote sensing equipment, and that the artifacts recovered are either geofacts or foreign objects introduced to the site by the very strong tidal currents in the Gulf of Cambay. The side-scan sonar equipment used to image the bottom of the Gulf may have been faulty, and the claimed supporting evidence is purely circumstantial. One of the main controversies is a piece of wood that was carbon dated to around 7500 BCE, a date which is used in arguments for a very early date for a city here. Dr. D.P. Agrawal, chairman of the Paleoclimate Group and founder of Carbon-14 testing facilities in India, stated in an article in Frontline magazine that the piece was dated twice, at separate laboratories. The NGRI in Hyderabad returned a date of 7190 BC, and the BSIP in Hanover returned a date of 7545-7490 BC. Some archaeologists, Agrawal in particular, contend that the discovery of an ancient piece of wood does not imply the discovery of an ancient civilization. Agrawal argues that the wood piece is a common find, given that 20,000 years ago the Arabian Sea was 100 meters lower than its current level, and that the gradual sea level rise submerged entire forests.